Our brains tend to give us the best ideas when we are the most relaxed.
Being wrong and accepting being wrong is how we learn and how we progress.
He pulled out his phone and he said, I'm gonna speak to, let's call her Fatma. I'm like, who's Fatma? And he said, my ChatGPT assistant.
It's okay not to be always okay.
What belief did you have to unlearn to become who you are today?
I'm worried about how I answer this question.
حياكم. In a world that moves faster than our thoughts, where knowledge economies rise and artificial intelligence shapes our daily decisions, self-understanding is no longer optional. It is essential. My guest, Dr. Layla Al-Nahawi, is not a researcher of people. She's a listener of their inner worlds. She studies the hidden patterns behind how we think, feel, and behave. And through that lens, she sees the future taking shape. This conversation explores the truth we avoid, the clarity we need, and the kind of human being we must become for ourselves, for our work, and for our nation. Before we begin, I want to offer a heartfelt thank you to our sponsors, QR Communication and With Feeling. Thank you for supporting a space that helps us understand ourselves and each other with more depth and humanity. I'll start by asking what others don't. So let's begin. So, Doctora, let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Okay? 5 things that you see in this studio.
Definitely the red curtain, because that was a point of discussion. I see a lot of warmth, to be honest. It's across the team, the table, the tea. I think there's warmth. I see the Russian dolls, the fireplace,
and 4 things that you hear.
The AC, the silence, the thoughts, actually. And I think the thing I'm imagining, or the sound I'm imagining from the fireplace.
3 things that you can touch.
The table, my cup of tea, and my chair.
Okay. And 2 things that you can smell.
The tea. Now you know how close tea is to my heart. The tea and this freshness vibe, I think I'm smelling.
And 1 thing that you can taste.
The sweet tea. Did I overdo it with the tea?
No, actually, I'm so happy and proud to use one of the local brands in our studio. When you remove the roles, research, and responsibilities, what truth about yourself that you're still trying to accept?
I think that vulnerability is okay. I'm trying to accept that. It's okay not to be always okay. And it's okay to be credible even when you're vulnerable. I think this is a big one for me. So I used to link productivity, for example, to worth. And sometimes very high productivity can affect your mental health and impact how I feel. And it can be not feeling okay. So I think accepting that and being vulnerable about it is what actually is the best thing to do, because then it allows me to figure out what to do next.
Is it linked to professionalism and the desire to be perfect all the time?
Wink. It's a struggle. I think it's something we've I know the word perfectionism. when I remember a conversation I had where I was saying the word perfectionism is a word I dislike, but all my acts are attempts at perfectionism. So I think we learn to try to be right in every way. Just a conversation we were having around, we don't want to be wrong, but also being wrong and accepting being wrong is how we learn and how we progress. It's okay to be wrong. I worked in an organization that helped me also improve this aspect within myself, where a value of the one of the values of the organization is that it's okay to make mistakes and learn from them. So the value was actually we learn from our mistakes.
That sounds like paradise.
Yeah, of course, with little asterisk there. There are some areas where there's no tolerance, you know, so that's a big one to also like be conscious about. There's areas where it's actually trying and attempting and making mistakes is the way out. And there are some areas where tolerance of mistakes is low.
What belief did you have to unlearn to become who you are today?
I think, yeah, I slightly mentioned one, but I'd like to elaborate on it, which is productivity is worth and its credibility. Being productive all the time is a behavior that I've realized is not sustainable, because you can't just keep doing something and ignoring other aspects of yourself, or even other aspects of realities related to how you deal with others. So I'd say one of them is definitely that they're not tied to each other. Your worth comes from the way you do things, the way you talk to others, and the way you even just think sometimes. You don't have to always be doing. I think this is really important for me, because I'll talk about my previous part of self, I would say, where I always felt the need that of the continuous learning. I have to learn, I have to read, I have to be improving something, I have to be growing. And then until I once met a professor who told me, Leila, I think you have a good amount of knowledge for now. How about you try doing now and practicing? And since I'm a learning expert in my work, in my line of work, I realized that one of the biggest areas we focus on in evaluating learning is performance and evaluating competence. And that doesn't happen whilst learning. That happens in the application of learning.
It's interesting. They even say that our brains tend to give us the best ideas when we are the most relaxed. So I think this is something relevant to what you've just shared. When we stop learning, I mean, take a break from the process of learning, in that space, maybe it's a white space, a red space, whatever, but in that space itself, we can come up with brilliant ideas and observations that we need in order to break through.
So I totally relate to that research. And I think of ourselves on holiday, or even that moment when you're going to sleep and you're completely relaxed, the mind comes with like solutions. Or sometimes you wake up thinking of, oh, actually I could do that. Not the healthiest approach to sleep, but it's actually when we're relaxed. So you're absolutely right about that research. We see it in our daily practice as well.
One of the Muslims scholars, by the way, he used to do that. I can't recall his name right now. I don't know if it's Ibn Rushd or Ibn Nafis. I'm not sure, but one of them, and when he's faced with a very difficult matter or a problem, he used to go to his bed and literally ask his brain to find a solution. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I wonder, what was the driver behind your study, Dr. Leila? I mean, you spend quite good time on that study. I would like to know, what is the title? What is the main objective? What is the driver behind it?
Yeah, I would probably now start and not stop. So please give me an indicator when I go too far.
Okay.
My research started earlier this year when it came from a reflexive space of me witnessing or experiencing something similar. So we both love coaching. Yeah, Safia and I are coach practitioners as well. So with coaching, I realized there's also a lot of reports from ICF about how coaching is becoming also an important requirement in many jobs of managers, and then the report shows increase in numbers year on year. But coaching is more developmental, right? So like we said when we were having a chat outside, coaching is a space where you don't give advice or you don't give the answers. It's explorative, it's developmental. Whereas managerial roles or director roles are more directive. From the term, it says it. And there are some areas where direction is required. But look at the conflict here. So look at an approach where I'm trying to develop the person and tell the person you have autonomy and you're able to come up with your own answers and you're able to do things on your own, but yet I'm also telling you this is what you need to do, this is a mandate, and how this can or might seem to be a conflict. So my research is around the identity of people who carry those dual roles, coach,
leaders, directors, coaches.
Yes, absolutely. So leaders who have a director or a directive role and also are expected to practice coaching. What does the lived experience of them look like? How does the dual roles that appear to be conflicted act and are enacted in daily practices, and what does that mean to the identity of the person who holds those dual roles, where I'm expected to behave from two different perspectives completely. So this is a bit about the topic of my research, and the research aimed at providing practical implications around how do we cope with those two roles.
And it's related definitely to the new term. It's not new, but it seems like it's trendy those days, well-being.
Yes. So the practical, I avoided using that word specifically in the research.
Well-being. You cannot run away from it, Dr. Leila.
No, I love that. You're absolutely right. So I think I avoided using that term just because of the relation people have associated with well-being. But for me, the practical implication is all around how do we maintain the well-being of those people who are expected to switch roles. So the research focused on the impact of switching roles that are conflicted. How do they impact the well-being of that person, and how does that person navigate daily life? I had people in my research commenting and saying, we switch hats. We sometimes, I'm not sure, what do I do? So the confusion, the switching of hats, the thinking process before acting, because I'm not sure what should I do in this situation and how that would impact me on an organization level. How would it impact me in front of my team who I'm leading on a day-to-day basis? How does it impact the perception of people in the organization who are other leaders? So around well-being, which is a crucial topic, and there's a lot of investment in well-being across organizations, across countries. In fact, there's a global initiative. I'll just like to refer to it actually at this point in time. There's a global initiative by the Policy Council in the UAE in collaboration with Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government that invested time and research in understanding and providing strategies for policy makers around how do we provide better well-being for organizations as a global initiative, not just within the UAE.
Amazing. And there's actually there is a whole strategy on the level of the nation itself, the 2030 quality of life strategy. I think this is the right name. If this wasn't the right name, I promise you I'm gonna just correct it in the caption. But before moving to the findings, what caught my attention, you said all the associations, or you said the way people associate things with well-being. What do you mean by that? Is there like a misconception? Is there like a misunderstanding? What do you mean?
Yes, I'm referring to what could be termed as well-being, whereas they're just regular interventions. They could be an attempt at motivating others on an intervention level, a training event, an activity. I mean, when a team is feeling down, don't just go and create a team building activity. So I
Or
think,
invite them over lunch.
yes, or invite them for food. Invite them for food so we could gossip. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of interventions that are attempting, and they're not bad. I think they're very healthy. They're trying to make the workplace a bit more natural to all of us. So we're not feeling like we're getting out of ourselves and going to work. We're also getting to be ourselves at some point in time, especially in team building activities where you get to see more of me, I get to see more of you. But that, I would say, does not directly address well-being. So this is what I was referring to. Maybe the superficial aspects, they are useful, they are important, but they're not well-being, I would say. They're attempts at achieving other outcomes.
On the other hand, I'm not going to say a lot, but I've known people, leaders, who think if they stop people from meeting with each other, talking with each other, the corridors talk, they will preserve the organization well-being more. It's interesting how people do perceive well-being.
Yeah.
Because they think less gossip, less talking, less corridor talking, less meetings out of the meetings or after the meetings is much better for the health or for the organizational health.
Yeah. That's attempting to look at the symptoms of something, but not the root cause. And you can prevent, but again, we're back to very old style or traditional approaches of just telling people, don't do that, which doesn't work. Today, kids don't accept that. You need to provide logical reasoning to why you do things. So back to this scenario, identifying root cause is really important, in my opinion, because let's take something as simple as the learning course. Whenever you're developing a learning course, or even this conversation, what's the outcome we would like to achieve from it? So even in something that's as casual as this, what is an outcome we would like to get out of this episode? Or what's the outcome we would like to take out of a learning course on a specific topic? So when I identify, for me to be able, to identify the outcome, I need to identify what is it I'm working with. What's the root cause of why we would like to address this? And same goes to any initiative. So taking well-being, for example, if there is a culture of talking in the corridors where talking is non-productive, then the issue there is not the talking, it's why the talking is happening and where is it coming from? Because a lot of, especially talking, is actually feedback that's never taken. And feedback, if taken at the right time, could cause wonders, could create wonders, because you're listening to people. Organizations spend a lot of money carrying out employee surveys because they want to identify what's wrong. Imagine getting them for free, just asking people, what would you like to change today? What would you like to improve today? So looking at root cause, I would say, is really essential to be able to even decide on what initiative we're approaching and in what way.
What are some of the most surprising findings from the study?
In my study particularly, I interviewed directors and CEOs and managers who had a team of people. So the criteria was very specific around having a team of people where they were expected to direct them, but also develop them as coaches. So as the manager being the coach in this case. And I interviewed different genders and different nationalities working across different industries and organizations. And the finding, I think the core finding I would say that was really interesting is that well-being was obviously on a systems level, not something on an individual or team level or a department level. But well-being is about how does my identity fit within this workplace?
Interesting.
It's not about giving me reduced or flexible hours. Nothing as such was brought up. No one brought up less hours. No one brought up anything about less work. Everyone was happy to be productive and work and give to the organization. No one spoke about the pressures of work, but they did speak about the pressures of the conflict between sometimes you as a director getting a mandate of something you have to do within a specific timeline, and then yet for your team you had to maintain a coaching approach because you want them to continue to deliver on a daily basis, and you can't sometimes be directive with them and use a coaching approach at other times. So the pressure was really within the self, which was impacting their well-being. So the well-being here, the well-being they were looking for was an organization on a systems level that acknowledges the importance of identity and what drives their identity. For example, if we talk about identity motives by Vignoles, identity motives explain why we do things. So personality types, I'm very fond of them. Carl Gustav Jung and his work about personality types is all about why we behave in certain ways. But then there's another layer, I would say, which comes in, and personality is beautiful to understand, but beyond that, there's the identity. What drives me to behave in a certain way?
So is it related to something that really deep-rooted within us as a human? Something maybe related to the values, more of values and principle aspect of it?
It could be. So I would like to add two layers of identity motives here.
Yeah.
One layer is to address, and then I think I'll come back to, is it deeply rooted within us? So first, why do we behave the way we behave, or what makes us behave in a certain way in a specific situation? So what identity motive is pushing me to react in a certain way?
So like, is it a fear or is it a desire? Something like that?
Could be that. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Let's say me and you are disagreeing on a topic, and we have a manager and a follower relationship. I mean, follower in just the sense of manager and team member. And then we disagree. Now, as an employee who works for you or with you as their manager, my need, maybe at an earlier side of my career, my need for belonging, that is an identity motive. My need for belonging is high because I want to belong to the team. I want to belong. I want to please you. That's not my intent, but my motive is belonging because it's important to me. I'm still developing my career, my professional self. Whereas when I grow a bit older, maybe my autonomy, my independence, my self-efficacy, my competence becomes more important. So I would give less importance to trying to maybe please others around me and I would start making a point. So identity motives are what drives certain behaviors within us, and they could change. And then the additional layer that you specified, which are values related, that is then me. The value would come, I would say, as an additional checkpoint, weighing the differences. So for example, if I'm at a stage of my career where I've surpassed the need for belonging, and I would like to maybe disagree with you on a specific point, but then I know there's high stakes if I do that, then here's where my value system gets also impacted. Maybe my value here is talking the truth or being authentic, but there is something bigger that's also I need to consider, which is, will it affect our relationship in the workplace on a daily basis?
Is that related to our age as well?
Could be. So identity motives, I would say, and that's a finding, it differs throughout the career of an individual. We had a lot of, within my research, I spoke to CEOs who reflected back also on their previous experiences when they were younger or when they started coaching versus now and what they do with coaching. There was absolutely a difference in the approach. They also balanced things. The need for balance now is more self-driven, whereas the need for balance previously was more about external factors. So in summary, I would say the identity of an individual, based on my research, could differ based on different times in someone's life, based on experiences and situations, based on moments of extreme pressure or stress or factors that are outside of the self.
Once I heard someone who I know for sure that they are very wise people, like they are very wise, very stable, but they went through a lot of hardship, like hard time, and then he told me, don't take anything from me now. I am not the way I used to be. So when I heard that sentence, I was like, Ya Allah. So even as leaders, we need to understand if someone is going through a very bad, not a very casually, يعني not a very bad day. I mean, like a very deep, hard time, something like losing something or identity conflict, and these are things like these things are real. We cannot neglect them.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we've experienced things on ourselves, and I appreciate the very genuine approach this person took with you to say, I'm not in a space where I can be now. I'm not being myself. I think this happens to all of us. It could be more severe to different people. Here is where we go. I would like to reflect back on personality types. So our personalities within the theory of personality types is the same. But as we grow older, as we grow with more experiences, we start reacting in different ways because we as individuals, we like to develop. We like to keep fixing things. That's how our brain is wired. We want to take decisions to improve things. So we do that even with ourselves. But then there are moments where in personality types, they refer to this term, in the grip. You're in a situation where you're just not yourself. And you start using your most weakest function in that situation. It's like the metaphor they give is a car where you have a driver, a passenger, an older kid in the back and a baby.
Okay.
And in those times, who is taking control over is the kid who's crying in the back. So things will not be okay. It does not mean that the driver who can drive usually very well is not a good driver anymore. It's just that they're distracted by the baby who's screaming in the back, and that baby is taking control.
I just recalled a phrase or a sentence. Let's say, authority does not corrupt leaders, pressure does. So that baby in the metaphor
is the pressure.
Is the pressure, and it could come. Yeah, it could come from something really like you barely notice in the situation or in their life.
Yeah, I think this is where I would slightly say there are triggers. I think we think that we did not notice it, but let's take an example of burnout because of pressure. It's not something that happens overnight. It's built up over time. Yes.
Accumulated.
Exactly.
Does it differ from a male to a female?
I always argue this point in my writing. I think gender. So there's two aspects I'd like to talk about. First, there's the cultural aspect of us as individuals. So as an example, being raised in a traditional, let's say, Arabic family, there's things that girls are expected to do or behave in a certain way, whereas guys might not be, or boys are not expected to abide with, as an example. There's that influence, but that doesn't change who I am as an individual. So I believe in the theory that as personalities, maybe I could have appeared as a shy girl as a child, but that was because of the influence of the way I was raised, my surrounding. But I am naturally someone, just for example, that's very social and extroverted. So my shyness is not related to me being an extrovert or introvert. Maybe it's just the way I was raised. So that's on an individual level of culture. But there's also Hofstede's national culture, and I know many people debate that. And I think sometimes I use it when it proves my point, and I use it when I want to actually argue a point.
Guilty of that.
And national culture just tells you a little more about, okay, in this region, people might have more power distance maybe because of differences in the way genders behave. So as an example, and I'm just throwing this out as an example purely because of our discussion, do we follow or respect the authority of men more than women? Maybe because there is higher power distance in a specific national culture. So I would say, for me, my belief is no, gender does not impact anything. It's natural preferences and behaviors and value system. But then we could argue that there is influence of culture and there is influence of where I work and the team I work in. There's an interesting research by Settles done about a student who was a female in a physics class full of men. Her natural, her identity for being vocal and expressing her point and proving competence was very high. But in that setting full of men, she was forced to kind of let the salience or the importance of that identity kind of suppressed because it was not an environment that was commonly looked at as an environment for women.
Interesting. And I do relate. As the UAE becomes a knowledge economy, what behaviors will define the future professional?
I think for me, I like the term used about knowledge economy, and I think a future professional is not someone who just knows more or knows AI or knows how to handle situations. It's someone who's identity aware.
Okay.
I know I say this because my research is highly focused on identity, but I think it's also something I've always was interested in, like understanding why we act in certain ways, why the same person in two different situations could act differently. So there's the idea of not just what my identity is or what's driving my identity, but what do I value more to show in this situation as part of my identity.
Got it.
Okay, so I think I would say someone who is identity aware, someone who knows also, and I got this from my research. I've learned that social skills, emotional skills, knowing when to switch roles, that is what made leaders also within their contexts more adaptable and more able to kind of sustain with multiple change environments and grow within them and grow their teams. So I think I would really emphasize on identity awareness and knowing when to switch roles, knowing when to act in this way and when to act in this way. And we see this every day in leaders around the world. Different situations ask for different times. So I would say, and this is on a previous research I've done on leadership before, I'm a big fan of situational leadership. So
could you explain it a little bit? What do you mean by situational leadership?
Absolutely. Situational leadership is an old concept which has evolved, but developed originally by Shehi and Blanchard, if I'm pronouncing their names correctly. And it said that, okay, there's history about, do we do directive leadership? Do we do transformative leadership? Do we do shared leadership? What type of leadership is right? Well, they came up with situational leadership, saying, and it's a model they proposed, saying there's no right or wrong. It depends on the situation. And the situation is crafted based on where your people are in terms of their career. So how advanced are they in their career, how advanced they are in their positions, and how confident they are. So as an example, if you have someone who's highly competitive, highly competent, so they're very skilled with what they do, and they're highly confident, you directing them might not be the way. Maybe coaching them instead, maybe delegating instead. Whereas you could have someone who is highly confident, but still not experienced.
As I like to say, you can't offer the same shirt for everyone. Okay, it's like a little bit. But basically, you cannot really offer the same food or the same shirt or the same personality profile for everyone, and you cannot apply the same method for everyone.
Absolutely.
So simply we cannot offer the same solution to everyone, and we cannot apply it on every situation. But I think people sometimes they tend to treat everyone in the same way because they don't want to be unfair.
Just culture is a big term in organizations. What
Yeah.
is just, and I agree with you. It is not easy to do, but it can. There are people who handle it really well. I think it takes a lot of emotional intelligence, social skills, a lot of awareness, reflective practices, even feedback from the person themselves, peer feedback. So it's not easy. It's a model in theory that looks very easy. Okay, do I put this person here and how do I react to them? But there's a bigger dynamic, the team. And there's the team and the workplace. And then there's the team, the workplace, and the organization. So yes, it is a beautiful model when shared in theory, but it takes effort to understand how do you do things.
That's why leaders are born and made at the same time. Okay. What is one harmful behavior organizations still reward? Even though your research or other research prove it damage people.
I think performance at the expense of well-being. Because it's not sustainable. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the I explored identity, and in my research and other researchers as well. And identity conflict is what really ends up causing a lot of burnout, a lot of impact of their personal lives and the impact of their teams and mental health issues. And I was reading interesting research specifically in healthcare where it's also increasing. So what is being rewarded is the high demand for performance metrics. And this was brought up a lot in my discussions with in the research interviews. At times where there is a performance metric, even if the leader themselves knows the value of coaching and would like to apply coaching, they are receiving a mandate the same way a team member would receive a mandate. So they would have to kind of just enforce the mandate, even if that means we are risking a good relationship with employees, a sustainable, productive environment, a healthy one, a safe one. I think psychological safety is at risk here as well. So that's what I meant by performance being at the expense of everyone's well-being.
So what are the alternatives that you're suggesting in this case?
That's
I think it requires something really out of the box.
It does, I think so. Of course, again, I mean, when you look at the different variables in an organization, it's not as easy as saying, okay, we're setting up this new department that will take care of everything, because there's so many other variables. There's things on a system level. So just to keep it brief, I would say a systems-wide initiative. So for example, if today in healthcare, I'm asking people to report particular incidents where the patient safety was not at best. So the patient safety was compromised. And in healthcare, you need to, let's say, report to this. But also you have a clause in the health workers contract that says, if you compromise the safety of a patient, then you get a warning or you're asked to leave. So there's conflicting demands. I'm saying report the incident because we want to learn from it and make sure we avoid it. And we're also saying we'll punish you for it. So system-wide initiatives that are targeted towards the same bigger goal is what is required, I would say.
What is the most common mistake leaders make when they say they want a healthy culture?
Take us out for a team building activity. I think you've realized how, because I am a trainer by profession.
Yeah.
That's how I started my work with people. And I had a lot of managers come to me or leaders saying, my team is tired and it's the end of the year and I want to give them a boost. And let's take them out for an activity for 2 days and we do some rewards. I definitely think it's nice, but it doesn't address the point. So this is looking at things again. So my answer would be the unhealthy part is looking at things from a limited scope or as an intervention. But rather than considering a systems-wide approach that is sustainable.
So do we need more skills? Or do we need more emotional maturity?
I would definitely go with emotional maturity.
Emotional maturity. And what do we mean by emotional maturity? And who's responsible for this?
I think it's an individual responsibility to begin with, and then it's a culture that enforces that. So if Layla goes back home after a day where it was stressful at work because of different demands and she pressurized her team, does she go back and reflect on certain behaviors? Do I do reflective journaling? Do I have conversations with peers? Do I consciously put effort to get feedback from my team?
Do I ask for help?
Very good one. I think absolutely. Am I expected to do it all on my own? Can't I ask for help? Can I be honest and vulnerable with the people I work with? So yeah.
Speaking about help, 2 days ago, a colleague of mine, he pulled out his phone and he said, I'm gonna speak to, let's call her Fatma. I'm like, who's Fatma? And he said, my ChatGPT assistant. It's funny, but this is the reality. People are calling their ChatGPTs, Gemini or whatever, names because they wanted to feel close to that tool, and they could spend hours and hours conversing with that tool. And they might talk about really sensitive challenges and issues. So AI, AI and a leader / a coach, can they use AI as an assistant for their leadership coaching journey?
Yeah, I'm worried about how I answer this question. I actually there's like debates in my mind happening, but
okay.
We can't deny that. So there is a Fatma in somebody's mobile. There is, I don't know.
Muhammad in somebody's mobile.
Yes, and I love how we can customize them. And I think just like anything is, I mean, we spoke about very similar topics, or we learned about similar topics when we were younger in school about media and how good or bad is media for us. And it's really all about usage. Me personally, I'm a big fan of AI. I think AI can help us today with well-being, predict things. We have a lot of data. We have a lot of mental health data across the world. We have a lot of mental health statistics. What if AI can, and it can do a lot with AI-driven chatbots, AI assistants. They can tell you, they can give you trends, which can give you then room for you to create interventions that can help.
Can we use it with team dynamics as well?
We could. Why not? I mean, for me, I look at predictive analytics maybe being helpful here. Imagine you being able to share some data with it, and then it can predict for you before burnout happens or before fatigue takes place. Why not? And then you're able to predict things before they happen and therefore address them.
But I think there are certain limits or certain boundaries that we should watch out for.
Yes.
Such as?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm asking you, such as?
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that up. It's obviously a very, very important topic. There's confidentiality, there's privacy. Today, with the use of AI, you could get AI's help to help you with even diagnosis of mental health. It's the responsibility of every one of us to protect patient confidentiality, individual people's confidentiality, our organizations. So privacy and confidentiality and security, these are things that are non-negotiable when using AI.
Have you used it as a mentor to diagnose a case, to analyze a case study or something?
Yes, I have. I have used it on myself to assess how good my psychologist was. No, jokes aside, I've definitely used it. It's very helpful. And I've also learned that there are so many AIs to AI tools, and it really is about using the one that serves your purpose. And as an example with research, I like to use Perplexity. It's credible. It's from different sources. I've learned the importance of also checking credibility for everything and treating AI as something that a resource that can help me do things, enable me, but not do my work. That's for me personally.
So more of as an assistant.
Yes.
As an assistant. When you look 5 to 10 years ahead, what do you think well-being will mean for us?
I bring it back to my research on identity. I would say identity coherence. I think an organization where we said what we're rewarding for is matching with what we are asking people to do in terms of performance. So me creating a space, let's say for my team, where psychological safety, I'm able to align people's objectives and with their values and their identity motives is really important. So I think the role of HR as well is to cater to that as well, because I can't do it alone. But it's a systems-wide approach where identity is looked at as a major area to keep employees motivated, productive, and well.
Dr. Leila, if you could redesign a modern workplace from the scratch, with well-being in your mind, of course, what would you remove first?
I think I would remove not a department.
Are you sure?
Not a department, but I would remove policies that do not support the way we are expected to work. So within that terms, I mean policies that don't support the fast environment, but also the one that cares for my environment and my well-being. So I'd say policies that hinder the approach we want to take as an organization.
If your future self, the Leila 2035, walked into this room right now from behind the red curtain, what would she thank you for? And what would she warn you about?
She'd thank me for being open. And accepting of differences in the way we do things, whether on an individual level, a team level, an organization level. And she'd warn me to say, it's not that easy, I think. Yeah.
Dr. Leila, thank you for helping us explore what's behind well-being when we talk about organizational culture. I have just one last question. If you could ask the next guest one question about their inner life, if you could ask the next guest one question about their inner life, what would you really want to know about them beyond success? And I'm going to take that question for our next guest.
Beyond success, what makes them happy?
So beyond success, what makes them happy? Thank you, Dr. Leila.
Thank you so much. This was a great opportunity to talk to you, Safia. Thanks.
Thank you. And now I want to hear from you. Who do you want to see next on Vocast? Hit the subscribe button and leave your suggestions in the comments because we ask what others don't. Until next time.